Christy. Good morning. Morning, Aaron. Good morning. Quick show here. This one won't be too long, but we're going to make it episode 1269. And although it's not a topic that I am going to claim to be a subject matter expert on, I think it's I think the topic that we are going to cover here, and I'm going to encourage you to do your own research on, is as important as anything in understanding many world geopolitics at the moment. I think most people have done an incredible disservice at not emphasizing the role of population, the role of population projections and trajections in the world right now. The world is, at least as far as human civilization goes, is made up of people who are here and will be here. People who are gone are not part of the conversation anymore. And that sounds like a pretty cold thing to say, but I actually say that from the perspective of someone who is a close witness of the drug epidemic in the United States. Nobody cares about drug overdose deaths because those people are gone. They're gone. You can't influence them anymore, and they don't vote. So they're gone. They're not to be spoken of again. That's a cold thought. However, 2 people dying of measles is not enough to really influence the quantity of people who are here. It is, however, something that can influence the people who, I should say, will be here now and going forward. Let's just say the people who are gone, and when you say 2 people are dead of measles, those 2 people wouldn't really move the needle anyway. So this is one of the reasons why we focus on, oh my goodness, one person was discriminated against. And I don't mean to say it in a comical way, but, a gay couple who can't get a cake for their wedding, well, that sucks. First off, you know what? Do you really want to get a cake from someone that doesn't want to bake you a cake? Go to the town next door, whatever. But these are issues which influence people that are here. But when it comes to, a million opioid overdoses, screw them. They're not here anymore. You don't need to think about them anymore. The world is to people who are here now and will be here. So the fact that no one, or almost no channels, aside from, thank goodness, Jonathan Cooey, Giga Home Biological, encourages anyone to consider population demographics is it's a sin. How can anyone have any real understanding of global trajectory? So we're going to start with a very simple YouTube short, okay? And this is a concept that is, where's my mouse pointer? With respect to economics and population. Sometimes copy and paste doesn't work between one device and another. Let me try this again here. Copy. Okay, good. It worked. Excellent. No, I actually have 3 keyboards in front of me, so sometimes it can be a little tricky. All right, so let's add this screen in here. Boom, input, doom, doom, doom. Okay, done. So what are we looking at here? This is a YouTube short. So as a YouTube short, it is oriented for, the phone orientation. You hold your phone like this. So I apologize for the fact that it's a little bit slow. But you can just search for India versus China economy projections or something like that, and you'll find a video short like this, okay? And what this video short shows is that by the year 2045 or 2050, India is the world's largest economy. So it's not the largest economy right now, but you can see United States and China right around the year 2030. The economies are matched. And by the year 2050, India is actually matching China and the United States, and then India takes over from there. And this is the truth. India right now, the combination of their demographics, the projections, is on track to within 30, 25, 30 years, okay, have a larger economy than either the United States or China. Now, good for them, right? Like I says, the only people we can really influence and should be influencing are the people that we see in the mirror and the people within our own household. So if the collective failures and shortcomings of my country has led to a situation where another country can come forward and grow their population and grow their technical merit and their industry and so on to overtake my nation, well, then I've no one to blame but myself, okay, in my own failure, in my own community's failure. So I'm not here to bash, but I am here to emphasize that this is the trajectory that things are on right now. The average age of a citizen in the nation of India is like 15 or 20 years younger than that of China or the United States, which means that as we get older, they will have more people in India in their prime working years, and it also means that they will be in a situation where they can have more children going forward. So not only is their birth rate right now already exceeding, I think, United States, Russia, and China put together, but going forward, it's going to remain, the potential anyways, higher. And India is going to have another thing that the United States and China and Russia don't have for it right now, and that is a understanding of recent catastrophic failures of societies that have not emphasized the importance of having a replacement population. Now, I know this sounds really cold, and I have many females in the audience, and I hope I don't sound too misogynistic or whatever when I talk about this topic, but it's the truth, okay? We're all in this together, and if a nation can't figure out, and here's the problem: men can't have babies. No matter what they say, men can't. So this kind of falls on half the population of a country in a very particular age range. And who are we to say that they must do something? However, we should all feel collectively part of this. We all have this collective obligation. The older population has a commitment to volunteer its time and its money to make it as easy, to make it as possible for the younger population to have families. Right now, the United States epically fails at this. People get old, they want to go to Florida, they want to play golf, and the kids, they're going to have as much money as they're going to have, and if they can't afford kids, well, screw them. That's on them. There's a lot of American families that have done very little to help their younger population. Our housing arrangements, everyone tends to live in their own home. We don't have multifamily living in the United States. Our tax structure, we tax people who work. We don't tax savings. Instead, we actually put the tax of the nation on the people who are working, usually meaning people in their prime and should be having families, as opposed to idle wealth that is in savings. So the United States seems to do everything possible to make it as difficult as possible. Our healthcare is just another issue entirely. But anyways, India is going to have this perspective. By the year 2100, it is estimated that the population of Japan could be 50 million people. That is down from a peak of, I think, 160 million. The population in Japan is going to be down 66%. And there's another concerning factor. They're mostly going to be older people. So nations are dying right now. And India, at the moment, for the next 20, 30 years, is in a prime situation. Now things for India are not necessarily how would you say? It's not as if they have no problems. Okay, India tends to be well, racist. And there are many Hindus and Muslims in India, and the Muslims are not the ruling party in India. I don't know what the breakdown is, but I think it's like 70-30 or something like that. And a matter of fact, one of the reasons why the Indian government is, I've read anyways, that there is compassion for Israel is because they see Israel's plight against Muslim population in Palestine, although there's actually a lot of people who aren't Muslims in Palestine, such as Druze and Christians even in Palestine, although they're not many. But they actually have compassion for Israel. It's kind of quirky, I know. But anyways, these are things which you need to consider. And I'm starting to see the propaganda in the United States through this lens, okay? And I remind you, the situation in India is not a forever situation. This is a trajectory. This is a projection, okay? And in 100 years, if they don't make certain accommodations, India will be in exactly the same situation, all right? It's not as if they are, guaranteed they win, and it's all over, okay? I mean, every year as people die in a nation, who's next? Who's coming in? Who's the next population? It's not like let's just say, what's another great example of your vegetable garden, all right? It takes years to get a vegetable garden up and running, to be efficient so that, it gets maximum yield. The soil is good. You have a good turnover, right? And then if you decide to go another year without really spending too much time, investing in it, you're still going to get vegetables. But it may not be quite as good. It'll still be pretty good, though. But then eventually it dies off, right? So you need to keep investing. It's never done. You need to keep investing in it. So the issue of India comes up because in the United States, we are being encouraged, and I think there's no better example of it than the source of the mystical virus, pathogenic virus that coated everyone's lungs, the RNA virus, which didn't exist as they said it did, anyways. Either being from China or being from the United States, or maybe even having something to do with Russia, whatever. I don't know. And it's neither. It's neither of these two countries, really. And at the same time, much of the evidence, as we reviewed in the last few shows, that has that set up and staged this idea of this pandemic from a laboratory came out of the nation of India. Okay, I mean, it's just the truth. So India, as this future superpower, or the potential future superpower, has provided all this evidence to get China, which is dying on the vine. Okay, China's population, I've seen projections as high as 700 million people in China could be gone by the end of the century. Terrifying population. I mean, it's just a nation full of old people. And the few young people that are there are just running around trying to take care of the old people, and they're so busy, they can't even have kids. I mean, it is, talk about a dystopian nightmare. It's interesting, though. The dystopian nightmares that we've seen on, on television, right, always involve people in their, 20s and early 30s, and they're fit and they're healthy, and everyone else is dead. That is the TV, the Hollywood model of dystopian future. It looks as though the dystopian future is really, billions of senior citizens who can barely, do anything, are all struggling with malnutrition and access to medications, and then just a few young people who have this incredible burden and are so busy that they can't even have kids. I mean, that's a depressing one, okay? Who wants to go watch that Hollywood movie? No one wants to go watch that Hollywood movie People want to go watch the Hollywood movie of the zombie apocalypse with sexy 20 and 30-year-olds, all dressed up in camo. That's what people want to see. They don't want to see the real dystopian nightmare that is on our way. But these numbers are never spoken about. And if someone knew that there was going to be, for example, this massive increase in all-cause mortality, well, they could take advantage of that to create narratives, such as, oh my goodness, gain-of-function viruses. So mythologies such as gain-of-function viruses, pathogens, and RNA viruses that are coming out of either laboratories or coming out of caves is a mythology which has been created and is currently being supported by everybody. Find me one person in the medical freedom truth movement that will actually stand up and say, there's no gain-of-function viruses. Yeah, you can create agents in laboratory. Yeah, you can create something. You can probably create an aerosol agent that can transfect people, cause illness and death. But you know what? You could also just release sarin gas too. So one is just a chemical. The other one is a more complicated biological chemical. But they're both just going to kill people that they contaminate, and that's it. I mean, this whole pathogenic thing it's just not real. But mythologies are being laid to rule people in the future, taking advantage of current phenomenons such as rapidly aging populations, increasing number of deaths, and so on and so forth. And no one talks about this stuff. Also, as Jonathan Cooey has emphasized in his program, and I guess as I do have an appointment coming up, so I'm very much time limited. And I'm going to send the link. I'll put the link to this video here in the chat, okay? It is a 20-minute video, and the channel is... Let me put it on the screen here. The channel is 2-Bit Da Vinci. I don't know 2-Bit. I've heard of 2-Bit Da Vinci before, but let's just watch the first, I think, 5 minutes of this video, okay? And I may actually take this video and, without his permission, repost it on BitChute and or Rumble, just so people have it available.
If you saw this graph of the human population over the centuries, you might be thinking we're heading for disaster. A world with overpopulation, food shortages, and increasing global conflict over increasingly scarce resources. We've gotten so good at maintaining human populations between modern medicine, modern farming, and water and waste management. But as an engineer, I always look deeper at the data. And in this video, I want to make a case for quite the opposite. We're actually looking at the beginning of a population collapse. And with it, different but critical worldwide challenges.
Interesting. I'm an engineer as well. Maybe that's why I connect with this guy.
This is a good example of where it pays to think like an engineer. So let's see if we can find some trends and figure this all out together. I'm Ricky, and this is 2-Bit Da Vinci. This video is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's start with how we got here. In the year 400, the world population was around 242 million. Don't ask me how they figured this stuff out. It's pretty amazing. It would take another 1,100 years to double the population in the year 1500, around the time Columbus sailed the ocean blue, to 503 million. It would double again to 1 billion in 1805, just 300 years later. In 1927, it would double again to 2 billion in just 122 years. In just 49 years after that, it would double again to 4 billion in 1976. The next doubling just happened in 2022 when we reached a population of 8 billion. 46 years later. Now, you might be tempted to extrapolate from here and figure the world population will break 16.
One thing, let's just note on the chart here that this astronomical jump starts around the year 1700 and goes to the year 2000 is 8 billion or so. What happens between the year 1700 and the year 2000? Let's see here. Soap. Plumbing, the separation of wastewater versus drinking water, and antibiotics. So really, 3 things. I can't even believe how many people live to an old age because of at least one treatment of antibiotics. Most people died through a bacterial infection. Okay? The miracle of antibiotics. I promise you I would be dead right now. There's been at least twice in my life where I had a skin infection through a cut, doing something in the yard, construction that was so bad, I'd be dead by now, no, without any doubt. All right, I shouldn't be here anymore. And so, between antibiotics and sanitation, clean drinking water, the population exploded. That has more to do with anything else. Don't let anyone say, "Oh, it's because of the polio vaccine." I mean, come on, that's a whole nother story. But just wanted to be clear. All right, let's continue on.
Billion sometime around 2070. But that won't be the case. We're still growing, but not exponentially anymore. The population is growing more slowly every day. That means that, contrary to what most people think, we won't grow indefinitely. The world population will reach a maximum, plateau, and then begin to drop. And it'll drop really quickly.
Absolutely. And this is, if you've ever studied calculus, there's something called the first order derivative and then the second order derivative. So the first order derivative is what is the rate of growth, okay? So, let's say something is growing at 10%. That means annually. That means every year there's 10% more of it. Now, if something is 10%, 10% of 100 is going to be 110 the next year, right? However, 10% of 110 is going to be an even bigger number. So the number keeps going up and up and up, okay? But that is, is with a steady 10%. Now, if that 10% goes down next year to 9% growth and then 8% growth and then 7% growth, well, that actually means that even though the number of people year to year is increasing, all right, the rate of the increase each year is not as much. So right now we have what we'd call negative second degree rate of growth decreases. It's been a while since I've actually spoken calculus. So second order derivative, that's negative. So the rate of growth is decreasing. And eventually, that means that eventually the 10% growth will go to 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and then -1, -2, -3, -4, or approximately, right? The rate of growth is decreasing. So even though right now it used to be like 10% or 8%, whatever, that it's still positive, but the rate of growth is decreasing. So eventually we will reach this point where the population is going to be maximum and then start going down. And once it starts going down, it goes down rapidly.
Still growing, but not exponentially.
And these are important topics for two reasons. Okay, one is if you want to break out of the being ruled by the mythology of DNA, or I should say RNA viruses and pandemics, then you need to understand that one of the main reasons why that mythology was able to be suggested was because they took advantage of the known phenomenon of population and how many people die, and they have prevented people from easily having access to what's going on. Or I should say they clouded it. Most people don't even know to look for this particular topic, but everyone should be well versed in it. When someone says, hey, a lot of people died last year, 3 million people died, you should be quick with, the world population is growing, but people are having fewer kids, the world's getting older, and we're going to reach a point where we're going to have more people dying. And as a matter of fact, the world population is going to be going down. That's going to happen. So, one is, if you ever want to break out of being ruled by the mythology of pandemics, it is essential. It is absolutely essential. You cannot avoid mentioning the population pyramids. You cannot avoid highlighting the role of population growth and decreases. Secondly, okay, is if the world is going to have less population, there's three things, okay? That means that eventually the number of people in the world is going to, of course, be decreasing. Now, for people who have been worried about running out of resources, I guess that's a good thing. But for the purposes of the longest running and the most highly funded project in all of human civilization, which is the race to understand the human genome and being able to take control of the evolution of humankind, okay? There's one resource that you need more than anything else. It's possible that that could be done without computing. Possible, but very difficult. But there's one thing that it cannot be done without. People. The most important resource of all resources is people. So the one thing that they need to master how humans can take control of their own evolution are people. People to research, people to collect data on, people to make observations on, people to use for medical experimentation. Without people, it can't happen. It just can't. So while you keep hearing all of these environmentalists saying, oh, people are using all the resources, we need to get rid of them, the reality is that not just spiritually, okay, put spirituality aside, the value of a human life with respect to the big agenda of mastering the human genome is the most valuable asset on the planet right now. It is the most valuable asset. And the last thing the ruling elite, I don't know what else to call them, want are for people to know that their lives are actually the most valuable asset in the world. They want people to think that their lives are inconveniences and trashy. They want people to think that the elites just want depopulation. Now, maybe the elites do want depopulation. However, they also, at the same time, what they want even more is to master the human genome, to take control of evolution, and to figure out ways to attain immortality. Trust me, they'll let 100 billion people wander around the planet, all eating McDonald's all day and driving Chevy Suburbans, if it gives them an opportunity to master the human genome. Trust me, okay? They'll find a way to make it work out. But the reality is that these trends of population growth and decreases are so big and involve so many people and are so dynamic that I think it's almost out of their control at this point. Okay, it's they thought they at one point might have been able to control this stuff, but I don't think they do. So that is the second part of it. And there was a third thing. I can't remember what it was right now.
The population is growing more slowly every day. That means that contrary to what most people think, we won't grow indefinitely. The world population will reach a maximum, plateau, and then begin to drop. And it'll drop really quickly. 23 countries, including China, Spain, Italy, Japan, and even Russia, will likely see their populations halve by 2100. Japan's projected drop is particularly dramatic. Researchers expect Japan's population to shrink from its peak of 128 million in 2017 to just 53 million by the end of the century. That's an almost 60% drop. One of the first whistleblowers related to a demographic crisis was Paul Ehrlich's 1968 book, The Population Bomb.
Now, just an interesting note, Paul Ehrlich, who wrote one of the most important books in the world about the population bomb, that's the same last name as the wife of Jeffrey Sachs, who is also one of the top co-authors of Peter Hotez. Now, I don't believe that they are directly, immediately related. Okay, they're not like brother, sister, or aunt, uncle, or something like that. However, it's not a super common name, and I think it's possible that they could be, like a cousin type relationship. I'm throwing that out there. I'm not betting any money on it, but I suspect it. Because when I was doing the ancestry of, I think his name is Sonia Ehrlich, the wife of Jeffrey Sachs, I actually stumbled into his Wikipedia page. So I've already been to his Wikipedia page before. And then it popped up today. I'm like, that's interesting. And they both at Columbia. So I'm just throwing that one out there, okay?
He was one of the first to propose that the population and explosion would be met by a shortage of resources, later leading to war, famine, and finally collapse by the year 2000. Later in 1972, researchers from MIT reached a similar conclusion but set the deadline at around 2040, caused also by resource depletion, pollution, and social collapse. These predictions not only made their way into mainstream pop culture, but they also affected policy. In fact, China imposed a one-child policy dubbed Late, Long, and Few, which cut population growth in half between 1970 and 1976.
And that is one of the biggest mistakes they ever made. And why did China was convinced to do that by global governance. Henry Kissinger and the rest went into China and said, hey, why don't you cut your population down? By the way, with China's long-running rivalry with India, why didn't India do that? Isn't it kind of crazy how India, along with, did not do that? And now, how do we know that China's responsible for SARS? Oh, it's because of Sri Lankan and Indian scientists in an outpost in Hong Kong who discovered SARS in 2003. So this whole, we need to China, Communist Party taking over the world stuff is nonsense. Okay? Yeah, they're having their day in the hay right now. They got a ton of money, but their future is bleak. It's very bleak. And you have to think, if you want to be an elite, if you want to understand the elite, and again, I'm not sure I love that word, but you need to think like them. And the way that they think is in terms of 50 and 100 years. They need to think long-term projections. And if you want to be a winning researcher, okay, you need to stop thinking about what the hell was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane log, 10 years ago. It doesn't matter. Even if there was anything there, it doesn't matter anymore. The future is going to be ruled by the people who understand where we're going in the projections, all right? You don't win money at the blackjack table by looking back on a mistake you made 5 hands ago. And then do a series about it and write a bunch of Whitney Webb books about it. Where are we going? This is what you should know. This is what I need to know. This is what the winning researchers need to know. Who shot Kennedy? Who knows? Doesn't matter at this point. It doesn't matter at this point. What matters is who is going to be here in 50 to 100 years. Because trust me, the people of the future, at the current growth rates, none of them are even going to care who Kennedy was. Think about the future. Anyways, I am already almost late for my my appointments. I'm going to put this link into the chat. Hey, John, good to see you. Thank you, John, for all the support you've given me. It does mean a lot. I think that's it. So I know it's a little bit of a disorganized show, but I just needed to get these ideas out there. I thought you would appreciate them. And you know what? I think self-learning is the best, right? I'm simply encouraging you to get on YouTube. There's actually a lot of unbiased information out there. Don't be fooled by, everything from the mainstream press is a lie. It's not. There's a lot of truth in it. It's just not all truth. Okay? There's a lot of stuff out there, and factor this stuff into your conversations. It'll make you very effective. You'll see a lot of things in a new light, and you'll definitely be at the winning table. All right, guys. Thank you. Take care. And I'll try to do another show later on, okay? All right. Thank you. Take care. God bless.